Um, so before we jump into that, I want to talk about the midterm real quick, and then we'll start on the Unreal Engine stuff. So I have a tentative due date here for the 12th. I think that's actually the week before, or the Sunday before fall break, I think. So it might change. It might move to the week after or the Sunday after, depending on how things look. But what I want to do is have a one-on-one session sometime in there so that we can talk about your project, see if if you have questions you want to talk through, talk about your progress in the class and those types of things. On one of those days. So I'm still trying to figure out if it should be post that date or before that. So anyways, tentative date, the 12th. We'll see what happens. So we've talked about it briefly, but the idea is you're gonna take your 2D design now and the mechanics from Coding 1, as well as the mechanics we've kind of built on the last couple of weeks, and you're gonna create a level or a game in a level. So it's a stealth game, as we've been working on. It's 100 points. This rubric is split between two parts. So we have our design and then our implementation or mechanics piece. So let's talk about the devlog, because I think we've done 2 devlogs, right? Or 1? 2?
We've done 2.
Okay. So the first 2 were pretty short ones, right? Wasn't like, I didn't have a lot of requirements for you. I kept it pretty simple, kind of let you do what you wanted. This time around, the rubric is pretty strict. However, you can do multiple submissions so if you submit once and I give you feedback and then you're like, okay, I want to submit again, you're free to do that if it's before the due date, right? If it's after the due date and you do another submission, then you'll still get counted off for late, but you can still make modifications after that date. So, but anyway, so keep in mind this time for your devlog, you want to have a good amount of details in there. Make sure you just cover all of the requirements for what's listed here. You most likely will want to put screenshots and a video of your gameplay so that you can, if there's something I miss while I'm playing it, maybe your video will account for that. Show me what your intent was or what the intent behind your design was. And I may still give you the points for that as opposed to if I just missed it and didn't count you for it. And then you'll do an updated build, so you'll package your game. So, grading rubric. Design. So we've kind of talked about all these topics, but you want to have an intentional design for your mechanics. You want your level to kind of tell a story, essentially. All of the mechanics that we've done should be functioning now at this point for your submission. You should have your level blocked out and scripted. So there's no requirement for lighting or for materials or things like that. The only, I think next class or next 2 classes maybe, we're gonna do custom characters. That'll be the only somewhat requirement for like custom materials, basically. Beyond that though, you can still use the grays and the default materials for things. But feel free to go above and beyond though, because that'll help. If you miss something somewhere else, that'll help account for some of those points. But as long as you are, you're hitting the base points, you'll do all right. Again, we've touched on a lot of this stuff, so there shouldn't be any surprises. But yeah, so for the Unreal Engine implementation, that'll be all the mechanics we've touched on. And then that last assignment we did where you extended the AI, there will be a little bit more of that within here. So I'm expecting you to not just use the same thing over again, but do a little bit, stretch yourself a little bit, exercise your capabilities, and try to make some modifications or attach things in a different way. One thing that's not on here is, did I put it in here? No, I didn't put it on here. Okay, so today we're going to go over landscaping mode. So we're going to make a quick terrain. For your submission, I do want you to have both indoor and outdoor in your level design to some extent. So I think I mentioned that last class, but it doesn't mean you have to have 2 levels or like you have to have like a complex landscape, but I do want you to have a little bit of an outdoor piece and then indoor being like a cave or a building or something like that. That way, when we get to the second half of the semester, we can do indoor and outdoor lighting, post-processing, and those types of things for both cases. So, any questions on that stuff? Everyone feel good about it? Any like things that you feel not super confident in? Okay. All right, so 50 points for each of those. We'll circle back if you guys have any questions or if there's something pops into my head that I want to touch on for that. Let me just show the rubric real quick if I can. I don't want to show it like that. Let me do it like this. There we go. Okay. So that's the rubric. I actually need to fix this because it shows 5 points only. So I probably need to add 2 categories, one for the design and one for the implementation or mechanics piece of it. But it's the same thing essentially. You get the gist of it. 5 points for completed work as well as high quality. If you don't submit anything or you're late, that's 0 points or points counted off basically. So, all right. Close. I'll fix that later. Okay, did everyone get the assets downloaded? Okay. Let me do that real quick. Let me see if I downloaded it actually. I might have it. Okay, I do have it. So, let me show you where to put that real quick. You're going to go into your project folder and into content, stealth game, and material library. And you're going to just copy that entire landscape folder. So it was a zipped folder. You're going to unzip that. And then you're going to take the entire unzipped folder and copy it into your content folder under material library. Okay? You got that now? Yep. Okay. All right, once you do that, then you can launch your game again, or your project. Give that a sec.
And this is landscape mountains?
Say that again, sorry.
That's the landscape mountains we're doing, right?
No, so you want to go to assets, yeah. Under resources, I put a demo project from Epic that was like on 4.27 or something, or 4.24. But it has some assets in there that you can use for your own projects. So, okay, let's take it. There we go. Okay. All right. So once you get that, you should have this landscape folder, and in there you'll see an M landscape and an MI landscape instance, so the material and the material instance. So these are the ones that the other class used. I made a different one, but these are kind of cool. So let me show you what's going on in here real quick. So this one, you need to add textures in here, but this one's cool because it changes based off of elevation, I think. So it blends the materials, so there's a couple of different layers in here. And this will blend those based off of the elevation, I think, or the height map or something. So, kind of cool. What we're gonna do, let's go to maps, and I'm gonna create a new level. Let's call it, well, I'm gonna call it I'm just gonna call it midterm because that keeps it simple. Yeah, save. Okay, that'll be a blank level. Let's just use Environment Light Mixer, and we're gonna add all the lighting in real quick. And then let's do this. So if you notice, so we're at the origin point, and if you notice, it's all black here. Let's fix that real quick. So if you go to your outliner and select the sky atmosphere, and then let's change the transform mode at the top there, underneath transform, or underneath planet, I mean. Let's change that to at component transform. What do you have in yours? What do you got? Let's see. Yours looks all right, actually. Maybe it might just be me.
I didn't have any. Mine's not black.
Oh, you have a skylight? Okay, you guys might be okay. I just noticed this when I opened it up on mine earlier. Yeah, okay. You guys are good. Well, I'm going to fix mine, I guess. Let's do this real quick. Move that down. There we go. Okay. So, Shift 2 to start landscape mode. Or go up here to the drop down and select landscape mode. And
Where do you see the world lighting?
say that again.
Where do you see the world lighting?
You want to go to your environment light mixer, go to window,
Oh, a couple.
I think. Yeah, bring that up. And then just click all those shortcut buttons there. Yep. You have a question?
That's not what I need in my life.
Say that one more time.
What were we supposed to change once we made them up?
Nothing yet. So we were just adding the lighting, and now we're gonna start creating a landscape. So you don't have to change anything just yet.
Or is it shift?
I say
Shift 2.
my health.
Yep.
Those things are so good.
Dude, there's something to it. Yeah.
Okay. Everyone's got landscape mode. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'll keep moving, and then we'll circle back to questions. How's that sound? Wait a sec. Where's my? Okay. So we don't need to change a lot of these default settings, but we can talk through some of them real quick. So location is obviously where we're at. This is just your transform, right, for the position of your landscape.
Does it go based off the center for that?
Yeah. So right now it's at origin, so which is completely fine, and the pivot is right in the middle. So, so the section size is the number of quads per section here, and then we have sections per component. So it's 1 by 1, which is fine, and then. Actually, I think we'll just leave it at the defaults. I was going to say we can make this smaller just for the sake of having a smaller level. But let's leave it at the defaults values. But if you do make it change it, you see how it shrinks down. So if we wanted to do a really small level, we could do that. For your midterm, you might do that, depending on the size of your level. If you don't want to do a bunch of terrain. Again, it's not a requirement to have the entire thing be terrain like this or landscape. So the first part of your level could have this. The second half could be indoors completely. So, anyways, but in this case, let's leave it at 63. You notice that changes like the size now. So you see the darker green. Now there's 2 squares per grid there. So it's like a 4 there. So that changes that. Number of components, 8 by 8. So if you zoom out a little bit, you can see it's, yeah. and then overall resolution of the landscape. So if you want a lot, or you're planning on doing a lot of like fine details in your landscape, you're gonna want high resolution, but that'll affect performance. So you wanna find a good balance there. Usually I think that's okay for the default 1024. Factors of 2 is what you wanna do most likely. So 1024, 2048, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay, let's leave it at the default. If you want to do an open world, you hit fill world, and it'll cover the entire map, but we're not going to do that. Hit create, and then that'll generate a landscape for you. It'll switch over to sculpt mode, and it'll have the default material. If you notice,
Maybe you're just so far zoomed out.
yeah, I'm going to zoom in. So I was going to say, if you're moving around really slow, you can adjust your camera speed by going to this drop down here. And then you can move pretty quick.
You can also do it with the scroll wheel.
Yes, you can do it with the scroll wheel as well to zoom in a little bit quicker. Yeah, it looks mostly the same. You just have a really big brush size. So your brush size is 2048, which is fine. So you can adjust your brush size. Right now we're in sculpt mode, which means we're gonna start adding like hills and valleys and things in here. The default brush size is 2048. That's fine. For what we're doing, I'm just gonna showcase what you can do, and then we'll circle back and we'll try to make something better if we want. But if you hold down your left mouse click and start painting, you'll start seeing you'll start making some hills. And then if you shift click, I believe that'll create valleys for you. Yeah. So if you're gonna have bodies of water, you might do this, create some depressions like this. Okay, so this is adding some of the like major details in your level. So if you have big hills and mountains and things, you'll start with the sculpt mode. If you need to erase, there's an erase option, which will basically just flatten it back out to the default elevation. So anything that's either lower or higher than the default elevation, it'll flatten it back out. Or you can hit Control-Z, and that'll set it back. There's also a flatten option, which the difference between the erase and flatten is the erase will always return it to the default elevation. Flatten will move everything around in the surrounding area to the elevation of your first click. So if I start over here at this highest mountain and I click and then I start painting, you see that's moving everything up to that point. So that's the flatten. And then if I started over here and started doing the same thing, it's now putting everything down into that lower elevation. So it gives a nice little like lake or something like that. Let's switch to the ramp. Any questions on those? Pretty straightforward stuff. So let's switch to the ramp. The ramp's kind of cool. So this lets you make a path between two different points. I'm gonna put it right here. Do something like that. Yours doesn't have to look like mine. I'm just kind of showing you what the things do, what the functions do, and then we can try to make something afterwards. So you click, and then you click the second point. That'll create a bridge between 2 points, and then you hit enter, and that'll raise the elevation, or raise the landscape up to that point. And then you can do it again, so like drag it out, maybe do another one there or something like that. Adjust it like that. There we go. Okay. So that's the ramp mode. Each of the modes have like some of their own settings. Like the fall off is pretty standard for all of them, so that's for the sake of the brush. If you adjust that fall off, so the intensity will be greater with a larger fall off, right? Lower fall off. Maybe I said that backwards. Let me see. Yeah, right. So if you increase the fall off size, I think you understand what I'm saying though. So you see how there's two circles here. So that middle circle is our fall off there. Or is there the area of intensity, right? So if I adjust the fall off here, let me just like bring it up here. And now you see that middle circle is shrinking. Let's raise it up now. And now it has a greater effect on the place that I'm painting at. See that? I'm going to do that real quick. Okay. Now, let's see. Let me set the fall off back real quick. Let's put it back to like 0.6. Okay. So you have two erosion tools. You have erosion and hydro. So erosion is like wind erosion, basically. So showing that something was weathered, you can use this to start adding some more details. And then hydro would be water, right? Water erosion on different surfaces and objects. Before I start adding the erosion though, I want to use the smoothing tool. So once you start adding some larger details, you want to smooth them out. So if I just went like this, I select sculpt, and I started like creating like, let me do this. Let me raise my tool strength up quite a bit. And then let me come down here and I'll just start kind of like creating some stuff here. Go way down and way up. So if you have a lot of variation in your landscape, there's going to be places where the player could get stuck, right? Just by adding those details like that. So what you want to do is use your smoothing tool and some of the other tools to refine those details that you've added in. So the smoothing will kind of adjust those. If you do it too long, it'll flatten it back out, which you don't want to do. So you see how it's just kind of flattening it back out, removing my finer details, but it's good to go over your details like this. So you want to kind of paint it some. You can adjust your tool strength so that it's not as intensive. Let's bring it down or back down there. Then we'll just kind of paint over a little bit. There we go. So you see how my shadows are kind of broken along my ramp there. So if I smooth that out, I think it'll kind of help with the shadows and the reflections and things. Yeah, there we go. And that looks kind of messed up right there. So let's smooth that out. Let's go like that. There we go. So that's the smoothing tool, right? Now you're kind of cleaning up the details and making things look a little more refined. Actually, let me also smooth that right here so that it's not as messy. Give us a little bit of a coastline. Sorta. There we go. Okay. You can do also, okay, let's add some erosion actually. Let's do that. I didn't even touch on that one yet. Do I want to, oh, let's just see what it looks like with the defaults. Oh yeah, let's see how it's kind of like cutting away at my thing, at my mountain here or hill, making it look like it's been like weathered by the wind. And then if you do like hydro, it'll start to add like more like cracks in there, I suppose. Let's see if we can get that to show up. Maybe over here. Oh. I need to increase my tool strength maybe a little bit. And let's do that. See if that shows up a little better. It's not even showing my details. So one thing is, if you don't have enough resolution on your landscape, you may not be able to create some of the finer details, which is what I was mentioning earlier. So keep that in mind as you're working, but up here you can kind of see now it's like kind of creating the depressions and stuff. It's a little better, I guess. There we go. Probably want to do that around the water though, right? I guess if you had like a waterfall coming down right here or something, that would make more sense, but. Okay, that's that tool. I won't show all of these, but one I do want to show. So mirror, obviously you can mirror just like any other editing tool, and you can create things on both sides of the line that you're mirroring on. But what I do want to show is this copy real quick. So copy, it gives you a volume to use, and if you move that volume around the area that you want to copy, let's move it over here real quick. And just adjust. You want to encompass the area that you want to copy. So let me just do that. Okay. And then you hit copy data to Gizmo, and it'll copy that information. So then, and then you can take that and move it anywhere in your environment or in your landscape. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have moved it up actually. Let me go back. I just wanted to show like the highlight. I guess it's not going to let me. Let me do it again. Clear Gizmo data to undo. Let's go back down and copy again. Do that. Copy. And then maybe I'll just move it out here and I'll rotate it instead. I actually don't know what would happen if I did it that way. We'll see. Let's see what happens after I do this. So you do that, and then you just start painting. And as you paint, so if you change the strength of your tool, you can start painting the details in there, but it won't be a one-to-one unless you go 100%, right? If you change this to your tool strength to 1, it'll paint it completely identical to what you had before, right? And you see how I had the ugly cutoff there, so it's all messed up. We'll smooth that out though in a sec. But now I have this piece that was identical to what we had there.
So it's like creating a stencil of what you have to copy.
Precisely, yep, it's a stencil, yep. So let's see what happens. What happens if I raise this up here? Does it do, oh, interesting. It does copy the elevation, or like raise the elevation. Let's maybe not make it that high up. Interesting. Okay, actually make some interesting stuff. Clear the gizmo. Let's switch back to smooth. Let me smooth that out a little bit. Okay, maybe not that low. Okay, let me smooth that out a little bit so we don't have any like weird artifacts on our landscape. There we go. There we go. Okay. There we go. Now you have kind of some plateaus going on there or something. Yeah, I'll smooth this out too. Let's see, what else? Okay, so that's the sculpting. You also have different types of brushes in there and different types of brush fall-offs that'll change and like how it looks as you're editing. I won't delve into those. You guys can do some experimentation if you'd like. And I think this one, let's see. I forget. Oh, no, we're not. We're on smooth. I want to do sculpt. There we go. So you can do some like interesting stuff, I guess. There we go. Anyways, okay, so I'm gonna assume no questions on that. If you do, we can circle back. I think yours are still loading up. We'll circle back in a sec here. But let's talk about painting now. So you downloaded those assets. Those are the materials for our landscape, right? At this point, you should have a few details, ideally, on your landscape. Switch over to paint real quick. Right now, your landscape doesn't have a material applied to it. So if you go to your details, or excuse me, your outliner, select your landscape, and then go to details. We're gonna apply a default material onto it. So let's go to our material library and our landscape folder.
The outliner pop up again if it's not popping up?
Say again, sorry.
How do you make the outliner pop up again if it's not?
You go to window, should be in there, I think. Yeah, details, outliner, yeah. Let me see.
Oh, it's down here. I see.
Oh, you got it, yep, there you go.
And what did you do after you went to paint? Sorry.
So I switched to paint mode, but I haven't applied the material yet. So go to content browser and then go to your material library, landscape and materials. And that is where our M landscape is that we're going to use. we're just gonna drag that onto our landscape material here in the details. And then you should see it turn like black or blackish brown.
Just the landscape one?
Mm-hmm. I guess you could do the material instance also if you wanted. That's why I created it.
And we're dragging it right on here?
You can drag it directly on there, or you can drag it into your details. So go to details in here. Oh, you don't have, so go to you need to go to your outliner, select your landscape, and then go to details. Yep, and then drag that over here into your details. I guess scroll down a little bit there. Where's our landscape? There we go. Landscape material right here. Oh, sorry, not the folder. You just want to take the material asset. Yep. Actually, go back real quick. Go into your materials folder, and then take the M landscape, or the MI landscape. Either one is fine. Apply it to landscape material. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then switch to click Shift 1 on your keyboard. That'll take you back to selection mode. There we go. Okay. You're showing like collisions or something here. Where's that at? Thanks. I thought it was in here. Maybe. None of these are selected. Okay, what's going on here then? I'm gonna close this for a sec. Where is that at? I thought it was under the camera settings. It's not. Okay, maybe we change something over here. Was it showing the whole time while you were editing? Or
What are you talking about? Like
the
this?
yeah, the collisions or the purple.
No. No, it wasn't.
Interesting.
It's like grayscale, like normal.
Okay, let's zoom in. Yeah, it looks like it's showing the let me see something. Interesting. I'll double check and see if I can figure out. I forget where that's at, but okay. So, what's up? Or let me finish showing and then I'll circle back for questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a material. We don't have what we need is so your landscape should look black or brown or something like that, because there's not a default material applied or layer applied. Right now, what we need to do is add some layer info. So if you look at the left-hand side, if you're in landscape mode, go back to landscape mode real quick. And then on the left-hand side, if you are, scroll down there. You should see that section called layers at the bottom. So before we do that, open up your M landscape. And this is a super basic one that I put together to blend different materials for the landscape. So we have 3 different layers here. We have the soil or dirt, the grass here, and then we have like just a vector param for the snow, basically. This landscape coordinates allows us to determine like the UV coordinates of basically the placement of these materials on the landscape itself. And then this layer blend is what's blending those values together as we paint it together. So super basic. The other material, like I showed you, did some cool stuff where it would change based on like the height and things like that. So we need to create information for these layers, basically to apply them to the landscape. So in order to do that, go to your layers and hit the plus sign right there. What did I call that? Did I call it dirt, this material? I guess that says grass. This is also grass and snow. Let's call it soil. Let's see if that works. So change layer 0. Let's call it, let's see if soil works. And then to the right, you should see, so this drop down is basically selecting the layer info. I have one created here already, but for you, hit the plus sign and then select weight blended layer. And then you're gonna drop that back into our material library. So go to material library, landscape, and resources is where you wanna put that.
I do not have a plus sign.
Let's see.
Sorry, folder and setting.
Oh, okay, you already have the layer info, actually. Maybe I include that in the folder. That'd be great. You had a question? You had an issue?
I was trying to get the landscape to work. I got to the point where you said go to the outliner to get landscape, right?
Yeah, okay, so go to your details. Scroll down here. You wanna go to landscape material. Go to your content browser. And then you're gonna go to content. Go to, where are you at? Oh, you're in engine content, let me see. Yeah. Got that on there. Okay, and then we're gonna go, yeah, we're in landscape mode. So you're gonna wanna add 3 layers. So go ahead and just add 3 layers on there.
And I should be able to add layers from here. Or?
Yep, you'll hit the plus sign. Oops, we don't need that many. Just need 3.
Okay.
So you'll do dirt, or excuse me, soil, grass, and snow for your layers. And then there should be layer infos in there actually. I guess I included those, so it's good. So hit that drop down for that and just select soil layer info. And then I'll create the other ones real quick so you can see what that looks like. Do that. And we'll call that grass and snow. Grass and snow. There we go. Okay. Diego, did you have a question? Did you get that up in there?
Yeah, it's one of the
Okay. Okay. All right. I'll come back. Let me finish this real quick. We're basically done. We're just gonna paint, and then I'll come back and help you get caught up to speed. Okay. So now we have 3 layers. All we're gonna do now is we can select any of these layers and we can start painting. Just select soil because that's our lowest layer, and let's zoom way out. I'm pretty sure there's a way to have it apply a default layer. I just don't remember off the top of my head. So change your brush size, make it like, I don't know, 8192. Make it really big, and then just start painting. We're just gonna make the whole thing that one layer, and then we can start painting other colors on there. So if you zoom in, if you notice you can see like the, yes, right. So the other material has a note in there also to kind of create variation in how the coordinates are placed. I didn't bother doing that because I wanted to keep it simple, but you can look at the other material and see how it blends this together. One thing you can do though, that's super basic, is if you go, actually, I think on, is it landscape coordinate maybe? Where is it at? Maybe on here. Oh, okay. The reason I wanted to keep the names consistent, I was trying to remember why I was doing that, but if you look at your layer blend, when you create this, you add the layers in here that it's going to blend together, and you give them a name. So when you are creating the layer info on your landscape, you want them to match because then it'll identify that based off the material, and then it'll populate it for you. Otherwise, it won't recognize it, and you'll have to figure that out. So, but yeah, you see, I have 3 of them added on my layer blend node here for it to identify, and then I set like the blend type for them. Okay, let me see here. I'm looking for. Oh, here it is. Mapping scale. It is on the landscape coordinates in the material. You can change the mapping scale. Make it like 6 or 7, and then click apply on your material.
Where is this at?
Inside your material, all the way to the left of the material there. Like inside your graph. Yeah, zoom out. Yeah, that node there. And then mapping scale there. So change that value to like 6 or 7, or you can go up more if you need to.
How do you pull out the graph?
Let's see.
Still have that tab.
So open up your material.
From here?
Yep. Double click your material.
Oh, which one?
The M landscape. The other one is the material instance, so it won't show the full graph.
Okay.
And then scroll all the way to the left.
It is killing my video memory.
Yeah, you might have to switch your scalability settings. Click on your landscape coordinates. And then on the left-hand side, you can change your mapping scale. Yeah. Okay, so if you hit apply and save, if you go back, you can kind of see it change the scale of that. So if you are adding details and painting different layers and things, so let me start adding some grass also here. Kind of see it's adding some green. It's kind of ugly.
How do you go fast zoom?
Like move your camera quickly.
Yeah.
So you can use your scroll wheel like Matt was saying, or you can go, where is it?
Ah, I see. That goes a little bit faster.
Yeah, go to, oh, here, let me see real quick. I think we just need to pull this over some. Here we go. So this drop down here, with the little camera and the arrow, you can drag this. Oops. And that'll speed it up for you. Yep. So if you're working on like really big things, that'll get you to move a little quicker. And then just set it back when you need to work on like finer details or in smaller spaces. So let's just add a little bit of snow on the higher peaks. I didn't change my brush size, but I just wanted to show like, there we go. So everything is covered in snow now. That looks terrible, but you get the gist of it. You see it's kind of blending. It blends the materials together based off of the weight here, and like along the edge you can kind of see the other material bleeding through. Let's do this. Let me increase my size a little more. See what happens. So for you guys, for your actual midterm, I'm not requiring you to use these materials. I just wanted to show you how to put the textures together. You can just use default colors or vectors instead to paint, because it just needs to be basic to showcase like where you are, or you can leave it blank. It's not that big of a deal. I just wanted I wanted you to be able to show that you can create a landscape and add details using your landscape. And then when we're working outdoors, you can do the lighting and post-processing and stuff like that. maybe we'll have time to extend the material some so that we can get the stuff to blend nicely, so it doesn't look like a grid here, and you can kind of see everything looks the same. But as as the player is in here and you have details in your map, it's not going to be very noticeable, but it just depends. Okay, any questions on that? Just wanted to, go ahead.
For some reason, it did not import the textures in with this.
Oh yeah, okay, so this is the first one. If you go into, so what you can do if you want is drag, so go back to landscape real quick, go to textures. Yeah, and then so the first one's gonna be your grass, I think.
Do I drag it?
Yeah, you'll drag it there,
Okay.
sorry. Oh, actually, let me do this real quick.
Yep.
Sorry, so this one for the first one.
Okay, and then so I'd have to select that and then.
Yeah, and then apply it to the texture there. And then the second one is your grass and then snow.
Cool.
Did you get the other ones at the bottom there? The normals?
Oh my God, maybe if I could. No.
Oh yeah, okay. So
okay, so that
it
would
was just that
be
one.
the same thing as.
Yeah.
That
So you'll
would
do the
be-
normal map for this guy, which is yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any questions on the landscape terrain tool? All right, we can go in more detail later. I just wanted to give a quick overview of what you can do, some of the capabilities. I'm gonna help this guy get up to speed, but what I wanted to do is give you a little bit of time to start experimenting with your 2D maps. And then if we have like 15 minutes or 5 minutes at the end, we can go through the process of creating a 2D layout, and then I'll start like making it, and it won't look as terrible, hopefully. Okay, so if you have your 2D maps on hand, go ahead and take a look at those. Create a map for your midterm and use that as the basis and start kind of blocking things out. Oh, we didn't even do level blocking, but we've gone over the modeling mode, I think, a little bit. Okay, I'll maybe at the beginning of next class I'll show the blocking plugin for you guys, and that'll give you a little understanding on how that works and stuff. But let me help this guy out real quick, and then we'll come back. Okay. So let's start by. Okay, so this is your chasing map. Let's create a new map real quick. Let's call it L underscore. Call it midterm example, actually. Yeah, that's fine. And then we'll just open that up. Okay, go to your window at the top left. Open up Environment Light Mixer. The other one, sorry. Go back to window real quick. And you want, that one there, Environment Light Mixer. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're just gonna click those buttons at the top there. Yeah, click them all. And that'll add the exterior lighting for you. Okay, all right, now hit Shift 2 on your keyboard. It's a shortcut for going to landscape mode. Drag this out just a little bit. And then we left the default settings in our case, so let's do the same here. Just hit Create. All right. Look down real quick, and let's go into your viewport here. And then let's look down in your viewport, where to go. There we go. Oh. Okay, above you. Okay, so there's your landscape. What I want you to do is you can go through the sculpting mode on your own. I want to show you the material though. Go to Paint real quick and scroll down to the bottom. Do on your layers here, hit that 3 times. Okay, so it'll give us 3 layers. Double click where it says layer 0. And you'll change that to soil. Yep, you got it.
Soil, grass.
Yeah, grass. And then,
snow.
correct, yeah. Yep. Okay, so that's there. Now we select your landscape in the viewport there. Yeah, there you go in your outliner. And then we're going to apply the material there, but let's go to, in your content browser, go to Stealth Game. That's fine, you can search for it, that works. It's under your material library, and then under landscape. Yeah, go to materials, and we'll use this one for now. And you'll drag that guy onto, yeah, perfect. Okay, so now that's on there. So this should populate now. So you should be able to now hit those drop downs. There you go. That gives the layer info. There you go. Awesome. Okay, so now you can select any one of those and start painting on there. I had them change their brush size to paint everything one color at first and then start editing, but you're free to do what you want. It's just so that you don't have the black anymore. Everything has a default value. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. There you go. Okay, so now you can go back to paint or sculpt mode and start adding some details and things. So click to paint, shift click to, click to raise, shift click to lower. Control Z undo. And then there's also the erase if you want to just erase small details. Yeah. And then you have the smooth. So after you add some details, you can use the smooth mode to then refine those. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Okay. And then yeah, I'll let you play around with those other ones, but and then you can rewatch the video and kind of catch up. Any questions so far on that stuff? Were you able to get that?
Yeah, I got it.
You got questions or anything? Okay, yeah, you got it on there. You got that? Okay. All right. Yeah, we got a little bit of time, so let's do this. I wanted to talk a little bit more about level layouts, but let me just do a little bit of blocking in here. Material looks terrible. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm going to use this little valley as my location. Let's do Shift 5, is it? For modeling mode. So we talked about, I think we already showed like cube grid and stuff a little bit. Did I add, actually? Okay, where is it at? Here we go. Okay. Oh, I didn't add it in here. Do I want to do that right now? Okay, so there is a plugin that's pretty standard these days for doing blockouts in Unreal Engine. So CubeGrid is the internal tool, right? You can use CubeGrid and it's the modeling mode, put some stuff out there, create geometry, different shapes and stuff, static meshes, et cetera, et cetera. But there's also the plugin. The difference is that the plugin has some pretty cool default or more default options for you to use. And then the con there is that it doesn't have any negative capabilities. So with CubeGrid, you can create a wall and then you can press extrude to like come off that wall, or you can go extrude back into the wall and remove pieces of it. With the plugin, you can't do that. So you just have to use the assets and then manipulate them to fit what you're looking for. Let me drag this here. So this is the plugin. It's not free anymore. It was free on the marketplace like in 2019 or 2020 or something like that. But anyways, this is the tool. It's pretty cool. This is the documentation. I'll add that to the resources so you can see that. And then this is it on Fab. So I'll drop both of those links on Blackboard. I didn't add it to my project either, so I'm not gonna, well, maybe I can just add it to my project this way real quick. Actually, take that back. Let's do this. Here we go. Level design, blockout tools. Yeah, sir. Save. Restart. Did I talk about that plugin last class?
You mentioned it.
Okay.
I don't think you went into any detail on it.
Okay. All right. I was just thinking, I was like, I feel like I should have mentioned that last class, but no worries. Okay. Be gone. Let's go back to. Okay, selection mode. All right, so once you enable that plugin, still recording. Okay, once you enable that plugin, you'll have a new option inside this place actors at the bottom. So you'll have this block out, and then you can start using some of those assets. Oops. Change your camera settings back after you're done doing your landscape stuff. Let's do that. Okay. So these are pretty cool. They have the little purple thing where you can start dragging it out like this and start blocking out. One thing I think I mentioned last class also that you should definitely do is, let's do enemy, this guy. There we go. Okay. Okay. Place a character out in your world so you can compare scale and understand scale in your environment. We talked about that last class too, but definitely do that when you start. Even I would recommend creating a wall or something so you can compare to the height of your character. That looks believable, right? Maybe. Okay, so you can also scale these and stuff, but I recommend instead of scaling, you see how the little gizmo is kind of stretching? It's fine, I don't think it causes an issue, but I would recommend using the gizmo to extend it, to drag it out. So, what do we got in here? Let's see. So one cool thing, they have rails in here, which is cool. Railing, I guess. There we go. So you can do that. I'm gonna extend this out just a little bit. And then let's add a ramp or something over here. Oops. And yeah, let's burn it out.
Is there a way to get it to snap?
Um,
Or you just try to get it like as
So you should use the snapping stuff up here. I think I have it set to, yeah, disabled. So we're going to enable that. Actually, snapping here, yeah, snapping's good there. Yeah, we'll leave that set to 5. Fine tune your snapping settings here. Like you can change the snap size to 1, 5, etc. So, okay. What else can you do? So, if you're using CubeGrid, you have to create doorways, right? So let me do this. Open CubeGrid as well. If it'll let me. There we go. Let's create a floor. Okay, one thing to note, it says create new asset. So that's good. Right now I don't want to edit an existing asset. I want to create something new. I'll hit accept. Let's move it down by pressing end. So this creates an actual static mesh, right? If you go to left-hand side, we can browse to that, and you see it's under this generated folder in our maps. So this is an actual like static mesh that we just created. I didn't create any collision for that, so one thing to remember, you have to go and apply collisions. So I'll do this for the sake of what we're doing right now because it's quick. But the bonus of using the plugin is that they all have collisions already, which is nice. Actually, that's terrible. Let's not do that. Let's just, where'd my thing go? Oh, no, that's not what I want either. I want to do maybe this. There we go. Okay. Now we have collision on that. So if I wanted to create a wall with a doorway, I could do this. Let me unselect. So I'm creating another new asset. Actually, I want to do it the full length of this thing. So let's do this all the way out. Yeah, something like that. And I'll move it down here in a sec. But as you're working, ideally you would adjust the size of your blocks. I just left it there though. But you can change that on the left-hand side here. Like the current block size is 100. 100 centimeters, right? Because Unreal units are centimeters. So you can change that so that it's thinner, obviously. That'd be probably more ideal. But I'll leave it like that. I'm going to move it down and then let's just do this real quick. I'll just do 2 walls because I just want to show something. If I edit this object specifically, like so editing an existing asset, it says, I want to create a window or something. So Q to delete or make a hole. So I did that. You notice it made a hole in both of those because I copied that asset. It's the same one. So it actually made a change to the static mesh itself. And you can see that here now. So if you don't want that to happen, you have to duplicate this asset before you make additional changes to it with CubeGrid. You don't really have to worry about that over here, but well, as long as you're editing the static mesh itself, you're fine. But anyway, so that's something you have to keep in mind as you're working with CubeGrid. You have to account for and make sure you're not editing the static mesh itself, or you're only editing the version that you want to edit before you start making changes. Otherwise, you're going to overwrite what you have, and then you'll have holes in random places and random details like that. So, okay, so I put a doorway. Any questions on this tool? Honestly, kind of awesome. Like, snap that there. And let's add some more boxes. Let's make a wall here. Okay, what I wanted to do is, we got like 12 minutes. Let's talk 2D layout or block out a little bit. Yeah, let's take a few minutes to talk about that. So you guys have your layouts. What I will hope you included, details that you should include, and I told you that it's due before class just so that you'd have that ready and we could kind of talk about that and you know kind of what the goal is. Originally I wanted to like build that here, but I was just like, we're probably not gonna have time to do that completely. But the idea is, so what I think we'll do is you can submit that tonight instead if you want to make adjustments. I think yours is good to go. It's on paper, so you don't have to make any modifications. But if you did it digitally, if you need to, you have a little bit of time to make some more modifications before tonight. Just with a few things in mind. So let me find my thing here. Let me do that. Okay. So, if we were going to like start doing this together as a class, where should we start? What do you guys think? To create a 2D layout for a level.
You need a player start.
Player start? Okay, that's a good start, right? Before that, though, that's the very first thing we're going to put down for the actual design. Before we start designing, what do we need to do? We need
A boundary?
a boundary is good for the actual design, right? As well. But what else?
What are we designing it for? Like,
Yeah,
concept?
right. We need to create our concept, right? Or we need to put some notes down. We know that we want our layout, our map, our level, or game to tell a story.
The goal from
Exactly. So we need a goal. So we know the type of game we're making is a stealth game. Let's pick a genre. Like, are we gonna make a Splinter Cell type of game, or like a vampire game, or werewolf, or zombies, or something? What do you guys think? Zombies? Okay. Zombies sound good. Let me write that down.
I'd say like hiding from a monster, but hiding from zombies works.
Okay. Yeah. So stealth. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can see that. Cool. Stealth.
Game where we actually try to avoid the zombies instead of just trying to slaughter them. When you hit a zombie, it's instant death.
You said what? When you hit a zombie, at what?
Instant death.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fighting zombies.
Yeah, right. You're instantly infected if you hit a zombie. We'll write that down. So it's about avoiding the zombies altogether.
You know, thinking about it, why do zombies care so much when they're hit? Because they shouldn't care at all.
They shouldn't feel pain, right?
They should be like, just bash. Their
It's
head
annoying.
snaps, and
Yeah,
they're
right.
still going forward.
You think if someone just had to like tap you on the back over and over?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, it would hurt, but it'd get
What about like a kid or something to distract? Because if like you can't,
Okay, yeah. So that's the next step, right? Right now we're coming up with.
Yeah.
Throws them away.
That way they
Shouldn't
know.
do anything. Like,
Yeah,
you
you're
like
right.
stab them, they shouldn't go.
Yeah, fair enough.
They should go.
Hold that thought.
Coming forward.
So I would say like lots of hiding spaces, like big room, but like there's places for you to like hide.
Right. So right now we're coming up with, now we're like, if we're using this as our foundation, we want to be able to tell a story based off of this aspect. So we want a zombie stealth game. We want the player to then be able to avoid zombies somehow in the level. We know that they'll be instantly infected if they encounter a zombie or are touched by a zombie. So then the next step is to start talking about, okay, how can the player move through the environment? Where do they start? What's the objective they're going through the space for? What's the goal? Those types of things, we can start working that out and start.
If we're unable to attack the zombies, then I would say maybe the objective is like maybe equipment.
Equipment, okay, that's good. Okay, yeah. Maybe like there's like a equipment cache or something over here.
It's like an extraction game where basically
Yeah, okay.
grab stuff, trying to get out, trying to get back out with the stuff.
That's good.
That's actually kind of a big concept.
And then your character just gets mad every time there's no weapon.
Yep. And you were mentioning obstacles, right? Like we need obstacles.
Car alarms.
Say that again.
Car alarms.
Car alarms. Okay, so obstacles and like distractions and things. So now we're thinking that helps us kind of come up with setting also, right?
Yeah,
We're thinking of kind of probably like an urban setting then maybe, right? Okay. Let me write that down too.
Some of it's cut off from us. By the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, so part of what I'm doing is on my iPad, but then I have to also move it on my display. So you can see that now, right? Okay. So urban, and then you said car alarms, right? My gosh.
It's like a very classic thing in zombie survival.
Right. If you bump into a car and then it starts going off, then you have a horde chasing you all of a sudden. Okay, so that gives us a little bit of setting, some obstacles or distractions. We have an idea on what type of game we want to make. So then now we can start talking about, okay, this is going to be in an urban setting. Scope-wise, maybe we want to do like 2 streets or something like that. That way we can have an enclosed space. We have to think about how we want to lead the player from point A to point B.
Urban's very easy with that because there's literal pathways.
Right. So we talked a little bit about making something believable, but not necessarily realistic. So with that in mind, we know that like if they're in an urban setting, the nice thing about post-apocalyptic is everything's kind of destroyed. So we have reasons for random cars to be in blocking places, right? So we can use that to kind of guide the player to different places. So a couple things to think about as we're
It's always funny because like originally it was just like, okay, we'll just put cars here, and then they started doing something like, okay, you can climb over cars. Now this doesn't work. Let's set the cars on fire.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You cannot go this way. This car's on fire. Like, yeah, right.
So it's either forever burning and you can't get around them.
Okay, let's start. Where's my shapes? Is this shapes? No. Here we go. Actually, I'm not going to do that. Let's do this instead. I'll just draw it by hand. My handwriting's terrible, but you'll probably be able to see it a little better, I think. Can you see that up there? No, you can't. Okay, let me move you over. There you go. Okay, so I'm just going to start drawing kind of like a street here, sort of deal. Our blocks.
Maybe we like start in like a safe building or something.
Oh yeah, okay, safe zone type of deal.
I'm starting to make Left 4 Dead, I feel like. Except with an extraction element instead of just getting from point A to B. Could go the Walking Dead route. You just wake up in a hospital.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's say this is player start right here. Okay. And let's put one more building actually out here. Let's say that's where our cache is, whatever the goal we're trying to get to. So one thing to think about is, or one useful way to approach this is put your start position and your end position first. And then you can start filling in between. Basically you have a point of interest, or even between there you could have 2 or 3 points of interest, but you know you have an end goal in mind. So that could be the landmark that the player is looking towards, the target there. Let's use this one. Let's just do a colorful circle. There we go. Okay, so that's our goal. And then we need to start putting like obstacles and defining the paths for the player, where they can go in here, where they can't go. And then different obstacles or things that are blocking them, right? So if we have patrols, we can start adding those in. If there's doors they can't access or doors they can access, we can start defining those and adding notes about those. So for example, if there was, let's say there's like 2 doors on this building. Color that in. There we go. Both doors are red because they're locked, so we can't go in that way. But we have like, I'm not showing verticality here, but in a better design you would see that maybe. So let's say there's a window here though. but you have to climb something right here to get up there. Let's put some boxes. There you go. So we want the player to say we don't want them to take like a direct approach. We want to kind of lead them in one direction. So we have to show them a problem first, and then lead them to the solution afterward, right? We don't want them to go directly to the solution because that defeats the purpose of the challenge. So we want them to kind of come this way. Maybe we'll have like a patrol here, zombies kind of coming through the street here. And then we'll lead them to come and investigate over here. And then we'll lead them up through here. And maybe they can't travel on the street here anymore. Maybe there's a big hole right here, so they can't travel here. And then this is blocked by cars or something. I'll put an ugly car here. So we're going to lead them to go around this way, basically. And they're going to climb up here, come in here, and then there's a bridge or something across here or something. Right. But what we also want to do is, we have these other two buildings here. If we put those in our design, maybe we need to define the purpose for those, if there is one. Maybe there's also another fire escape or bridge connecting those where they need to investigate something else before they can actually access the guns. Maybe there's a safe or something. So then we can start adding notes about those things. And then we can start, if we labeled those as different locations, we can start defining those in a different section or something. But anyway, so that's the gist of what I'm looking for, right? We're starting to break down. We're going based off of the story. Have you guys heard the term spatial communication? Okay, so spatial communication is basically the idea that we're using the environment to tell a story, and we're also using the environment to lead the player to different locations and to accomplish our goals. So instead of just saying, the objective, go do this, go do that, avoid this and that, we're going to let the environment take over for us. So if we know we don't want them to, that door, for example, it's locked. We don't want them to, we want to show them from a distance that it's locked, for example. So maybe there's bars there blocking the doorway, or there are boards, maybe it's boarded up. Or if there's two paths to get across there, one of them is broken or there's fire there or something. And then the other one, yeah, right. It's shining there, a flickering light to show hey, come this way instead kind of thing. Yeah, right. So anyways, things like that. We can do more of this next time. Maybe we'll actually design a nice level, and then we can block it out in Engine, and we'll go that route. So any questions, thoughts?
This left store is a fireworks store. Maybe that's a distraction.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't even put the distractions. Yeah, we didn't put the items in there, but yeah, we have our patrols in there. I'll draw little red circles. So points of contention, right? We want to create tension in the level. So we have patrols going back and forth. One thing I will say is when you're designing, when you're putting your patrols in, make sure they are not following a linear path. The recommendation is basically give them a circle or circular patrol path, basically. The reason being is if they're in a straight path, if the player's following behind them, and this specifically in a stealth game, the player's following behind them, and then they reach the end of the path and instantly turn around, and then that just it takes the feeling away from the player of satisfaction. So if you need to do that, there's ways to do that, make the enemy turn slowly or something, or give the player options so they can have reaction time. Yeah, right, exactly, yeah. But the proposed approach is to have three or four points, right? So they go in a circle. That way the player can strategize and adjust their movement kind of thing. So anyways, we're over time. We can do more of this next time, and then submit your assignments if you haven't already. And midterm, we'll talk about that more on Tuesday. I'll try to come up with the official due date for you guys, but you can get started on that now, and then I'll answer questions on Tuesday related to that. So,
Have a good one.
You too.
One of the dumbest jokes I thought of was Frogger is a stealth game if the enemies were blind.
Are they wrong though? I can see that.
Like just reskin the cars as people going like this, and then you jump in at the wrong time, they touch you, you're like, ah.